Okay, I grabbed a clip from the internet and I'm going to use this as reference. As you can see, this is 1280 by 720 and it's also at 2997 as a frame rate. I'm going to create a comp out of this file and I'm going to change the comp settings because I want to be working at full HD for the animation. So I'm going to choose the HD TV 1080 and I'll keep it at 2997, which is the frame rate that this file is. So I'll keep that and hit OK. I'm not going to be using the video from this file, so I can turn off video. I'm going to be using the audio, so I'll keep the audio on. That's this little speaker icon. If I twirl down audio, I can see the waveforms. And so right now I'm going to choose the section that I'll be using for this. So I think I'll end this right after Teddy says, "I thought it was funny."
I thought it was funny.
So the nice thing about the waveforms is that you can actually see the words. You can see when they're being said, and you can see when the next word is going to start being said. So I'm going to set my out point here for the work area, and then I'm going to trim the intro music. If you want to do an audio scrub, you have to hold down the command key while you're moving the timeline slider. Otherwise, when you move the timeline slider, it doesn't give you any sound, but if you hold down the command button, it will. So B for the beginning of the work area, N was the shortcut for the end of the work area. And with this work area set, I'm going to go to Composition, Trim Comp to Work Area, and then now the whole comp is just the length that I had set for the work area. This might be helpful because sometimes the clips that you'll grab from the internet will be really long. It's possible that you might grab a whole episode or possibly even a whole movie. You don't want to have your composition be the length of the entire TV show. If you're only going to do 10 seconds of animation, you don't need to have the timeline that long. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with the markers. I'm going to put markers in for each of the words. When you're working with audio, whether it is sound or music, it's really important to use markers because it's so helpful to be able to see when those moments are at a glance rather than just keep scrubbing around and guessing. So I'm going to go through here and I'm going to mark all of the words. And I'll probably fast forward this section. But for the first one, you find the first syllable of the word. And you might need to use page up and page down to go back and forth a little bit. And then the audio preview is either the space bar if you have that set. In preview, you can tell it to include the sound on the playback. The other button to hear just the audio would be the period or the decimal button on the number keypad.
You ordered a small.
Now to make a marker, I'm going to make sure that the layer is selected. And then I can go up to Layer, Markers, Add Marker. That's one way. Or I'm going to hit Undo, and you can do the asterisk button on the number keypad. That will give you a marker. Hit Undo again. Or you can also hold down Control and hit the number 8. And if you look closely, the number 8 is the asterisk button as well. So those are the three ways that you can do it. You can either go to Layer, Markers, Add Marker, or you can hit the asterisk button on the number keypad, or you can do Control 8, and that gives you a marker. And then when you have a marker, you would double click on the marker and you can add comments in here. Like right here, Bob says so. So I'd hit so, and since it's Bob speaking, maybe I choose a color for Bob and I'll hit yellow for this and I'll hit OK.
So more, you ordered a small.
And then I'll do the same thing for the other words. Find that first syllable of the word. Asterisk. And you can see this is helpful because at a glance I can see where all of these words are. So when I start animating, I know when to start those words and when to end those words. And I'm going to move through this and fast forward. Okay, so we can see when Bob is talking, when Mort is talking, and then when Bob starts talking again.
So Mort, you ordered a small?
How small was it?
What?
Sorry, I'm taking a stand-up.
Okay, so adding type in the layer. There's the type tool up here. Command T is the keyboard shortcut. When you click on the screen, it's going to give you this empty text layer, and it's waiting for you to actually type things out. So I'm going to type out the first word, so. And then you might need to adjust the anchor point. For right now, I'm just going to put the words on the screen, and then I'll trim them according to when they appear. And if you want to align the characters, you can use the align area here. So maybe for so Mort, I'll have those aligned. Now you ordered isn't going to align very well because the Y, the descender on the Y is going to throw things off. So I might have to just eyeball this, or you can hit Command R, it'll bring up the rulers, and then you can drag down a guide. And sometimes this is helpful. You might need to nudge things a little bit, like the bottom of the U should be resting on that line. But like I said, for now, I'm not going to be too worried about the placement because I'm going to focus more on the timing. So let's talk about how to trim them. If you're close to the front of the composition, you can actually grab the front of this and drag these. You can drag the edge of the layer and then it'll snap to your guide. So that's the quick way if you're close enough to the beginning of the composition. If you're not, then you hold down Option and then hit the bracket that's on the side that you're on. So right here, for small, I'm going to hold down Option and I will hit the left bracket because I'm going to trim the left side. And if you want the words to go away, we can trim the other side by choosing the layer and then hitting Option, and then we would do the other bracket, which would be the right bracket. So maybe we only want these words to be on for a certain amount of time. We can have them go away.
So Mort, you ordered a small?
How small?
So Mort, you ordered a small?
And another thing that you can do, since this is Bob talking, all of these words that I put on here are Bob's words. I can change the color to match the marker. All right, so now we have these two areas where Bob is talking, and Bob is yellow. So I can click on the little swatch and then choose Select Label Group. And with all of those selected, you can go to Character and you can change these things. If I want to change the color, it would change the color of all of the words. If I wanted to change the font, I could change the font to all of them at the same time. So it's really helpful to label your layers and then use this Select Label Group option. And then now I'm going to do Mort. So now I have all of Mort's dialogue on the screen. So how, Option left bracket, small, Option left bracket, was, Option left bracket, it, Option left bracket. And then I'm going to go to the next keyframe and I'll back up one frame, which is page up. And then on all of these, I'll select all of those and I'll do Option right bracket. So now you can see that they stop before the next word pops on, which is Bob. And I want to change the color of this because these don't really match Mort. So I'll have yellow for Bob and I'll have like a lavender or a purple for Mort. So I'm going to change these to lavender. And then one thing that I want to do, I want to actually use the color from the show. So one trick is I can turn on the video for a second and I can eyedrop the color. So I'm going to do layer, new, solid. And I'll eyedrop his tie, which is a gray color. And then now I have a solid, which is that color. I can delete the solid that it makes down here. And maybe I also want to eyedrop the background. And the reason that we're making these solids and then deleting them is it actually creates this folder over here, and it has that color next to it. So I can eyedrop these little swatches on the side underneath this solid folder. Maybe I'll go back here to this frame and grab, the light gray or white of Bob's shirt as a background. And then this way, when I go to Mort, I'll turn off the video. But for his color, I can change this to be that purple that's actually from the show. We can also use these colors as a background. So I can grab this pale yellow solid and use that for maybe when Mort is speaking, trim that. And then maybe the white solid is underneath when Bob is speaking. Although that's a little bit hard to see. So maybe for him I'll choose one of these dark grays. So that's better.
So Mort, you ordered a small?
How small was it?
What?
Sorry,
There you go. So I know it's a small section of this video, but hopefully this helps you see how to start animating type and also how to use markers on your timeline, because they are incredibly helpful. And again, the keyboard shortcut to get to the audio waveform is LL. So if you hit LL, it'll bring up the waveform, and the keyboard shortcut to make a marker is the asterisk button. So there you go. Hopefully this gets you started on animating your type.